Log cabin painting part 3. So I believe this is part 3 to painting this cabin. There may be many more parts. I really don't know what I'm doing, so this could go on. Right here I'm just adding a lot of deep dark brown, and it's almost black. There is some black added to it, but it's mostly the dark brown that is the main portion of the paint color. I'm trying to, looks like I'm trying to add a log wall, but I think I make that into a door later because that portion of the building could be a separate piece, you know, like a shed built into the house. So anyways, just adding the darks, kind of smudging it in, blending, trying to keep the contrast of the wood that has the light paint on it. This is a really old, rotten cabin, and there's always a cat that bothers me. They're good cats. That's Knuckles. He's Bombay and Tuxedo, so he's just ginormous. He's huge. He must have had some kind of growth genetic. And another cat that bothers me, but she's a good girl. Back to painting. Come on, turn around. Stop looking at the cats. Thank you. All right, so I've added a lot of dark under the cabin, as if the ground's being pulled away, the age of the building, the foundation is coming apart. I'm going to put some cinder blocks under there or something eventually to show that it's being held up by something. Right now I'm just smudging colors around. And like I said, I'm not an expert at painting wood, not log cabin pieces. I could paint a tree pretty easy. Also, mossy covered stones, which is right there on the chimney. That needs to be painted better. I'm aiming for this broken post to be more realistic. I think I'm just kind of gonna wing it with the whole log cabin. Since I started from just somebody else's outline and a smudge of blue in the sky, I think that was what was left from their beginning efforts. And that's kind of fun. I like doing this. I like taking something that someone tried and seeing what I could do with it, because I know how it feels to get frustrated and to give up and be like, you know what, it wasn't that special, it wasn't that good. I had high hopes, but I don't want to deal with it right now. I don't want to deal with it ever again. So canvas ends up where? Yard sales, closet, Goodwill, thrift stores. And that's when I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll pick that up. I'll see what I can do with it. So I enjoy doing this once in a while. This is not a full-time, hey, throw me all your own nasty old canvases and I'll see what I can do with them. Mail them back to you when I'm done. That'd be a lot of money. That would be costly. So I've begun a shadow of the building. The light source is a little screwy. I'm going to take that shadow away that's on the left-hand side of the screen there, under the broken pole. There's too much shadow. And like I said, the background will be changed. So the grassy plane the house sits on, you know, all that's going to change. I've found some white house paint for literally interior walls and stuff. And I'm using it on the log cabin because that's all I got. I do not know why I'm stippling it onto the rock. I should not be stippling. I should be using the long brush, the long, narrow, skinny brush, and doing more in steady lines to show the rock edges. And it shouldn't be this bright white. I should have picked a more gray, a bright gray. Some of these stones could be better accented with a solid line. Right now I'm just stippling. I need to stop stippling. Does the entire picture need to be stippled? No. With the little bit of white I have, I was hoping to bring out the highlights of the stone and then kind of move on to the edges of the wood. So like wood framing and posts, some of the floorboards. But my oil paints have started to plasticize. They're like getting hard. That one's still nice and soft. It's a good dark. And so I added some white. Let's see what color it is. It's a good brown. It looks like Hershey's chocolate brown right there. So I can work with that. I think for the next video I'm going to study some rocks before recording and then start recording and painting and see if that improves how I go about painting this chimney. Because I really don't like what I'm seeing. This is kind of just a mess. And you know what it looks like? It looks like rotten food in the sink. That is what I just painted. You know, if I got paid for that, that wouldn't be half bad. So the colors I'm using are a deep dark brown, a lighter tannish brown. I'm overlaying with some white and almost a light seafoam green. It's almost a grayed green. It's very light colored, looks like stone. And eventually I'll put the moss back on top. I think I just need to redistinguish these rocks. They've kind of gotten lost in the... I reversed what I should have done. I should have painted the rocks and then put the moss on top. But, you know, ADD, ADHD. Sometimes you do stuff backwards. And then you learn why things work forwards. It's self-teaching. It's just a long road. So why I'm doing this, I want the paints to reveal where the stones are instead of me calculating where each stone goes. Even though when people make chimneys, they put the stones in on purpose so that they stack right and create the chimney. Well, when you're painting something, sometimes you just want things to kind of fall in naturally. You don't want to like mathematize your painting into a organized thing, because then it's not naturally beautiful. So at this point, I'm adding kind of the grayish brown. It's got hints of green in it, but it's mostly this kind of muddy brown. And I'm blending where the line is that I had to work with. The line that goes down the front edge of the chimney and creates the 3D look. I'm trying to get rid of some of that by wrapping grout and stone and moss around it, kind of camouflaging it. This whole chimney looks camouflaged already. I'm also looking to just not keep it the focus of the entire painting. Your eye is supposed to keep moving through the painting, not be stuck on so many details of one thing that you can't look at the other parts of the painting. You're supposed to keep your eye moving and let your mind wander or escape into the painting. Like perhaps this log cabin's been here since the early 1900s, or perhaps earlier, perhaps this chimney's about to fall down, or does it look sturdy and it's still there? Perhaps I didn't do the correct top of the chimney. It looks like it's not in the right perspective angle. Yes, that too. I also think the whole chimney's crooked and falling away from the cabin. You know what? It's supposed to look like that. This is an old, nasty, old, broken, beat up, rotting cabin. Let it look like that. So, without self-scolding, just enjoy making a mess and kind of letting it look like that. And people do that with their houses all the time. Come on, let's do this. Put it on a canvas instead. All right, so I'm adding really deep, dark brown. It is probably as close to black as possible. And I want, I guess, more depth to this weirdo chimney. I want more depth. I want these rocks to look really big, completely irregular. I got the hiccups. I ate too many chocolate chips. So, and what also bothers me, hey, right on the left-hand side of the top of the box of the chimney, before it goes to the chimney spout, there's too much weird outline / shadow. That shouldn't be there. The logs of the log cabin should still be a little bit highlighted all the way up to almost the rocks on that left-hand side of that chimney box. The bulk of the chimney is the box of the chimney. So yes, there's quite a lot I want to change. I should make a list. That would probably help me tackle this stuff better. ADHD and hyperactive crap is difficult to deal with. You can get a little bit of good out of it, and then the rest of it is just a big mess that needs to be cleaned up and reorganized. If I could get my head organized about what I'm doing, this progress would go a lot faster, a lot smoother, and look a lot better. It'd be more successful. I would feel more confident in my achievements. It would be better. At this time, no. I'm kind of sitting here trying to paint something I'm not familiar with. My brushes need to be cleaned a little better. What I have is like cheap dollar store brushes, stuff I found at yard sales, whatever was left in the garage when I bought the house. So these are not the best brushes for oil painting. It's kind of whatever I got. Sometimes you can make something pretty unique with whatever you got. Sometimes not. But the challenge and learning from the challenge is still there. So that's the thing that's of value. Why do you need this type of brush? What's the quality in it that it has that you can't get from leftover brushes or cheap brushes? How did you use the cheap brush versus how the new brush, the quality brush, can work so much better? These are the things you learned from. So doing whatever you can with what you got, yes, for a time being, that's good educational experience. Being stuck there, no, not a good thing. This is where I'm using a very liquidy brown to kind of bring back the dark shadows and the creases of the log cabin that seems to have faded. The more I work on the chimney, kind of it distracts from the actual building. And that's what I don't want. I want the eye to keep moving over the whole canvas. You don't want to be stuck looking at one thing on the canvas. So as I paint with these paintbrushes, I realize I really like that really fine, very thin, long horsehair paintbrush, because when you start using more bristly, long, thin, narrow brush strokes, you can add a lot of detail in just a quick flick of the wrist. And I like that. I don't want to sit here and stipple and smudge my way into a final image. I really get bored of that. And these brush strokes that I'm using for in between places is a little bit too wide. If I had that finer, thinner paintbrush with a much darker pigment, I could make those creases pop. They would stand out more. At this point, I've got a little bit of red on this brush, kind of a red, brown, orange. And I'm putting some warmer highlights across this side. Eventually the light source will be figured out. That should have been my first step when working on this canvas. It was a little difficult because it was just a stick structure and there was no distinguishing light and dark portion. And so I kind of had to make it up myself. I get distracted. I start thinking about details and textures and where things are and what I can add. And then I get completely turned around about where the lights and darks should go. Ugh, what a mess. No, don't do that. You're screwing that up. Oh, geez. I need to tell myself no sometimes. Look at that. Look at that. That's too much red paint right there. I didn't fix the side of the round logs either. And the other side doesn't look that good. So this log cabin is wider at the base and it kind of narrows towards the top. The chimney is falling away. I should definitely put a place up against that wall where the chimney has dislocated. I need to put some damage, some roughed up areas. Maybe the thatching has been torn, just to show the chimney's starting to come down. So here's another kind of a limestone green, or that moss green. I want the stones to kind of look a little bit cleaned up in some places, just to show their shape. Like, hey, the moss hasn't completely taken over. This actually helps this chimney. So if you've been irritated the whole time watching this, I'm sorry. But this does help. It brings out some more edging. Gives a higher contrast to the edge of the rocks. Kind of brought my eye a little comfort. It's too much yellow and green and brown all in one spot. I was getting 1970s vibes and it was kind of making me grossed out. That's not my favorite colors mixed together. It's like they were missing the other colors of the major rainbow here. So yes, it requires red, yellow, and blue to create most colors. You do have to have your white and black, but just to have yellow, green, and oh my gosh, it's horrible. This is slightly brighter than what I just had. I threw a little bit more white in it. Oh, I wish I could hurry up and okay, wait, let's fast forward this. So at this point, I still have a white glob of paint on that bottom rock towards the right-hand side of the lower chimney. And this mossy agate green will help. Will definitely help. What I need to do is find a light gray with no color in it and a better paintbrush. And start defining these stones a little bit better. And once I do that, I can put a little more detail on the log cabin itself. The thatching looks okay. I mean, it doesn't need to have any major work done. I could put some grassy strokes up there with a different brush. Brighter yellows that are mostly white. Just highlights of whatever's left. Like perhaps there's some plants still growing up there. And then, like I said earlier, the damage behind the chimney as the chimney pulls away from the building. That would be key. And yes, distinguishing the ends of the logs. Now that roof that's above the broken column should be sagging a lot more. So I think I will drag some of that wood that is the overhang down there and shadow it across, have it look like it's sagging. Man, painting broken stuff is hard. It really takes studying and patience. Like I can paint wounds. People have bloody broken bones or cuts and scars. I can paint that. That's easy. For some reason, that's just easy. But natural stuff, stones, moss, wood, thatching, I need a lot of practice. And it's getting there. You can see when you get up close, it's still a muddy mess, but it's getting there. If I change the angle of the camera, it's given that vibe where, yes, you got to look at it from one direction. So it has a distinguished direction it should be going, even though it looks this messy. Finding out my highlights and shadows will definitely improve all of this. If I find my light direction source. I kind of did when I first started the project, but it got a little bit lost. Yep, using the side of the paintbrush can help. Just throw some highlights on there and not do that. Why did I do that? Yeah, I'm trying to fix the perspective of the top of the chimney. It needs to be way higher than the person's eye. The person is not taller than the building when looking at it. The viewer there. That is closer to accurate. I just have to blend that hideous line up there. That's pretty bad. There we go. That's a little bit better. So what I have planned for the rest of the building, more darks, more highlights, better wood grain, fix the damaged areas so they're more distinctive, especially underneath the building where it looks like things have pulled away. I want to show that this thing is well used, super old. It's not in a dry environment, so everything kind of does need to have the moist, mossy, rotting wood colors, which are the warmer colors. If you're in a dry environment, everything gets really, really light and filled with dust. So like the desert would treat wood totally differently. You'd have sun-bleached wood, it'd be dry, it'd be hard, it'd be compact. There would be very little colors left. So okay. So this is where I'm at with this right now. I've gone over what I want to do with it. I've gone over what I don't like about it. A lot of this I do like. That's not what I'm focused on. I'm focused on the things I don't like so I can improve them. But I do need to enjoy what I do like. That's the whole purpose of painting, learning to paint, remembering your experiences. It's not that, hey, I hated this and I screwed up so much. Oh, I hate it. Because then you don't really want to paint anymore. Or you regret even beginning a project. You got to actually like what you did. Find the parts you like. Improve the stuff you didn't like. And then it's worth trying again. Is that bright enough for you? I almost want to paint over it and start over. But I'm going to leave it there because when you step away, if this is a painting in a hallway and you're passing by it, and it's a big enough hallway that your eye can see, enough light on it, it's not too close to your face, a big enough hallway. Like, let's see. Passing by it in a big hallway. When you glance at it out the corner of your eye, it's still going to look like moss-covered rocks on an old log cabin with a thatch roof. The textures are there. The details are not. I think that is the most detailed rock I've got in the whole thing, is this one right there. This great big, almost popcorn shaped rock. I should just make them all popcorn shaped.